How long have you been with the city?
Rode the city for
I'll talk about
3
something.
years.
Can I write my name down?
Yeah. Finance director role
My off
since
days matters
January.
and yeah, a few other things. MODM.
Monday, April the 4th, 2016. I want to welcome everyone. Somewhere, I hope out there, is the pastor of the Life Church Assembly of God. Oh, there he is. That's Dirk. I'm going to let you pronounce your name. I've seen you at church before. You come forward this time, give the invocation, lead us in the pledge of the flag. Would everyone please rise?
Thank you, Mayor. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Father, we come before you with grateful hearts, thankful, Lord, that we're blessed to live in this great nation. And, Lord, also blessed to live in this wonderful city. And ask you, Father, that you would guide Mayor Bacon and the City Council tonight with your wisdom, with your grace. Lord, that you'll bless everyone who participates in this meeting, that this city will be greater than it has in its past, and its future will be greater. And we're thankful, Lord, that it is your blessing and your goodness. We pray that you'll preside over this meeting tonight with your presence and with your grace. And we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. You follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mayor.
For those folks that Life Church Assembly of God, they're out on King Springs Road, a great church. Shell Osmond and his wife Missy and the whole congregation, they do so much for our community. If you want something different, good place to go. I've been there. Agenda changes. We do not have any. As a matter of fact, we have a very small, short agenda tonight. We do have some candidates here. I see Bob Ott, our District 2 Commissioner. You want to say something? And then we got another candidate, I see. He's running for Judge. I'll give them an opportunity.
Good evening. It's always a pleasure to come and see all of you. I think of all of you as good friends. It's a great relationship that I have with all of you in the city of Smyrna, and it's always my pleasure to come and listen to what's going on in the city. So just remind folks that there is a primary on May 24th, and hopefully I get their vote and have all of your support. Thank you.
That was good, quick. Is there any other candidate running for public office? I know there's a lot of judgeships that folks are running for. You just follow his lead in the time, you'll be good.
Well, my name's Luke Lanta, and I'm running for state court judge here in Cobb County. I like to say that I didn't have the good fortune of being born in Cobb, but I had the good senses to move here as quickly as I was able. And the reason that I'm running is that our courts play an important role in keeping the county moving forward. And they play an important role in keeping us safe and keeping us economically moving in the right direction. See, I'm a business lawyer, represent individuals, mom and pop shops, all the way up to Fortune 20 companies. And I'd like to give that a little bit of perspective about what that means. Is that we hear the county chairman talk about the $1.2 billion in economic development that SunTrust Park is adding to the community over a 5-year period. That's roughly $240 million a year. In 2015, the amount of dollars at stake in the cases that I was responsible for exceeded $250 million. So the dollars at stake last year exceeded the amount of annual investment or economic development of SunTrust Park. But I want to give you another figure, and that's 189. 189 women and children that have been saved from future episodes of abuse through a partnership that I created between my law firm and the Cobb Justice Foundation, where every month we represent low-income survivors of domestic violence here in our Cobb community get protection from their abusers. So I'd like to think that with the business law background and the experience representing survivors of domestic violence, that range puts me in a good position to decide the issues that affect both our opportunities here in Cobb as well as some of our challenges. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, for your time and consideration tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Item 4 is department head reports. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 2 department head reports tonight. The first one is from our finance department, and our director, Ms. Kristen Robinson, will bring that report to you.
All right. Get on the screen. Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
What we've spent the last several months working on and what we're going to continue to spend the next several months is the budget. So I just wanted to touch a little bit on the budget. We went over this a little bit earlier in our retreat, but I wanted to follow up. We have been through the CIP process. We have been through the department submissions. We have, sorry about this, and we have got a final 5-year CIP plan going forward. So all that has been completed. This week last week we started going through the department meetings, and we told the departments to bring to us what you need, and we didn't give them a threshold this year. We said, tell us what you need, and we'll do our best to do what we can fund in the budget. So we held those meetings last week. The departments were very responsible for the most part, and we had really good discussions. We started last week with $1.5 million deficit between our projected revenues and where our expenses were. Through the meetings last week, we've got that down to about $330,000. So we covered a lot of ground. We still have a lot of ground to cover on the general fund. On the water and sewer fund, we started that process with about 3.7 in a deficit, and through conversations last week, we cut that to about $1.5 million. So we're going in the right direction, but obviously we still have a little ways to go. So the next thing that's going to happen is just us running the legal ad so that it's posted. Everybody knows the process going forward. We are going to come to you on the COW on the 28th and do our first presentation for y'all. And then we're going to come back on May 12th to finalize all those changes. And then we're going to have the first budget hearing on the 16th, where we're going to present our proposed budget. And then hoping for the formal budget adoption, the first meeting in June, on June 6th. So that's consumed most of our time. Just a couple other notes. We are still looking for a controller. So here's my public plea. Please, we have been without one since about August, so it's been quite some time. So here's my public plea to go to our website and please look at the qualifications and see if you qualify, and if so, send me your resume. And then another thing, I wanted to just give a little recognition to purchasing, because they also fall under my department, and they have been working on a pretty big project in cooperation with Parks and Rec and Buildings and Grounds and with admin, and have been GCing the renovation to community center bathrooms. So bringing that project in-house, we cut the cost in half. So we are coming in under budget and about half the cost of what was bid out. So I wanted to give them a little bit of recognition. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Kristen. Next, we'll hear from the Community Relations Department, and it's Director Ms. Jennifer Bennett.
Hi. In the last quarterly report, I let you know that you were going to be getting some publications. The first was the new Citizen Guide that went out, and in your March mailing, you got the newsletter, which covered development updates, Belmont, Jonquil Village, Smyrna Grove, Riverview Landing, Concord Road. If you put those things aside that come in your water bill, you might want to look for that. There's good, useful information in it. And what's coming to you next is the event calendar. That's in your April mailing. That covers events beginning in April and running through the end of the year. Some of the highlights, just to let you know, there's a full list on your screen of the events through August. The summer concerts, I've heard people are very interested in those. We have hired the Retreat for the June 11 concert and the Get Right Band for July 16. These events are all available on the city website, which is the next item I'm going to walk you through. We also reported at that quarterly report that the website was being upgraded and it would be relaunched. We did that last Monday, March 28th. Some of the highlights of the new site, we have a toggle switch between events and news. You have some expanded options inside the events. You can put it into more calendars. We have some spotlight features on the home page, and I'm going to show you just with a quick little video what some of those look like for those of you who are a little less experienced with websites or might just want to know what these new features are. Like I said, you can toggle between the events and the news on the home page, and then you can expand and get to a main calendar. That main calendar has more items on it this time, or in this view, than we had with the last or the previous website. And in it, you can add it to more than just your Outlook calendar. You now have Google Calendar and Yahoo Calendar, and you can change the font size for readability. You can bring it up or down. And you also have more social sharing options inside the calendar view. And back to the home page, the buttons that were originally on the lower left to get you get you to some things faster, like do I live inside the city limits, have been upgraded and moved. We're also making more use of the mapping feature. Inside the mapping feature, it's where you go, you can type in your address and it will populate the streets for you. You don't have to have the exact same street or have it typed in exactly as it appears in the database. It will give you options and you pull it up. You can get your sanitation schedule and your council ward designation through that. Spotlight feature on the home page. We used to have just one text option, but now we can link to things like the vision process. And we have two of those, and they're very similar to the larger Spotlight, which I'll cover in a second. The second Spotlight is currently tagged to your council members. This is how you can find them quick and get in touch with them. And then we have 3 feature options on the home page. We can leave static information, but we can also link to other information like we've done with the spring one here for the bike share program. And the top level navigation has a couple of changes. The mouse over option has it's an index card view. Each of these upper level areas have separate index view over left navigation, and we've moved financial information up to the top to make it easier for you to find the budget information. The speed of the site altogether is a lot faster than the old one. This view is just to give you an idea of how fast. You've seen how to find the bike share information. There are multiple paths to find that, like a lot of other things inside the site. But also your financial data is up higher, so you can literally learn how to rent a bike and find out where your money is, your tax dollars are allocated, actually probably in the same amount of time. Now, one thing that happens when a website gets rebuilt, especially one as large as ours, we had to move from an old CMS to a new, and the page names changed. So that means that a lot of things that were indexed in the search engines like Google have dropped off. It doesn't mean that the site is broken. It means that those links are broken, but they're being rebuilt. That could take 2 to 3 weeks. We're a week in, and over the next couple of days, you should see it get progressively better. Any questions?
Questions, comments? Okay.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Find us at smyrnacity.com.
Thank you. Those are the only 2 we had, right?
Yes, sir.
Item 5 is land issues, zonings, and annexation. A 2016-116, approval of subdivision plat for 2 residential lots in R15 zoning district, 1.0 acres, land lot 524, 3154 Dunn Street. John Bradford is the applicant. The background, please, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Mayor, this was approved by, the subdivision was approved at the March 14th 2016 meeting by vote of 7-0, and the P&Z Board approved the subdivision for 2 residential lots on that same date by vote of 7-0, and recommendation is for approval.
Is this a public hearing on this one? It doesn't, a paper agenda doesn't show it. This is in Mr. Doug Stoner's district. Mr. Stoner?
Yes, I'll ask Ken Sedgwick if he can come up, our Director of Community Development. If you can give us the background on.
Let me switch screens here. This is a request, not a rezoning. The reason this is in front of you is because they're requesting that an existing lot be split into, and that comes to you. But in addition to that, there is a variance on the lot width. This lot meets all the other requirements to be split with the exception of that width. It has 150-foot lot width, and they are requesting that it be split in half to have 2 75-foot lots. The vicinity map shows that it is a long lot, and it actually runs from Dunn Street and backs up to the park. This is the proposed plat. As you can see, it does illustrate how long these lots are. Talks about the 150 feet of the width. We are proposing that each lot be 75 feet. Staff felt it was better to have both lots 75 feet instead of having one lot meet our requirements and the next one be 20 feet below at 65 feet. We felt it was better just to split this down the middle. Even though this shows a corner lot, it provides enough information to show you what type of structure that they are interested in for this, and that becomes one of the conditions that I'll get to at the end. Here's a picture of the subject property. That house will be removed, obviously. These are adjacent properties. As already stated, both staff and the Planning Commission are recommending approval on this. There are 3 conditions. The first condition has to do with tying any approval to the submitted plat dated February 14th, as well as tying the front elevations to something that is similar in nature to that with regard to materials and colors and accents and so forth. That they need to be similar but differentiate so they're not identical. The third condition has to do with drainage-related issues. This has been requested by our city engineer, and as such, I will read it for the record, that both properties shall meet the city storm management requirements set forth in Chapter 46, Article 5, and that the city engineer shall approve final design of any stormwater best management practices prior to the issuance of a building permit. Remember, the Community Development Office acts as a clearinghouse, and that building permit comes through us, so they will not be able to take the next step until the city engineer is satisfied with their stormwater management. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. This is a fairly simple request. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Ken. Quick question, too. Obviously, you've talked to the applicant, and he had agreed on all 3 of these
the applicant has been informed of this, and they're in agreement and aware that they're going to have to deal with the drainage as well.
Right. And also, when y'all reviewed this in the sense of the staff, I think it was noted that this is an older neighborhood. We have kind of variations in the sense of variances developed over a 60, 70-year period.
Yeah, this is not the first time we would be dealing with 75-foot lots. There's a variety of different lot sizes and lot widths in the neighborhood. So this is not unusual. We would not be setting any kind of precedent.
And I would say that the proposed elevations are in tune with what's happening in this neighborhood which happens to be my neighborhood, so I'm very familiar with it.
Yes,
in the sense-
absolutely. Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
in the sense of that style housing compared to what was there before.
Yes.
And the other point I was going to make is that in the sense we've done this very similar in the sense of the stormwater issue, specifically with previous applicants.
Yes, we have. We've tied that connection back to the city engineer on multiple occasions.
Right. Well, I don't have any other comments on it.
Any other questions, comments by the council?
Okay. Well, at this time, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approval of on 2016-166, approval of subdivision plat for 2 residential lots in the R15 zoning district, 1.08 acres, land lot 524 at 3154 Dunn Street by applicant John Bradford, including the proposed stipulations.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this subdivision plat and this variance. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. We're missing one.
Susie, you need about.
I can't tell who's not voted.
Susan, try it again.
It's approved 6-0. For the record, Mr. Welch is out of town. He's not here tonight. That's why we only have 6 people. Item 6 is previous licenses. We have none. 7, formal business. We have no issues. 8, commercial building permits, none. 9 is consent agenda. Mr. Jones, will you please read the consent agenda for council's approval?
Yes, sir, Mayor. There are 3 items on the consent agenda tonight for your consideration. The first item is approval of the mayor and council meeting minutes for the March 21st, 2016 meeting. The second item is an award of RFP 16-025. That's our property and casualty insurance to Georgia Local Government Risk Association, usually referred to as GERMA, and authorize the mayor to execute any of the related documents. And the last item is an approval of extended work hours from 7 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Monday through Saturday for plateau excavation for the Jonquil Village redevelopment project.
Here, motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. It's approved 6-0. Item 10 is committee reports. We'll start tonight with Mr. Doug Norton.
I'm not sure who Mr. Doug Norton is, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry.
I have no report this evening, sir. Thank you.
I joke with him about calling him Doug all the time, and his name's Derek. He's got a wife and a baby named Sam. So. Andrew Bluestein, I'm sorry.
I didn't know who he was talking about either, so don't feel bad. I just want to remind everybody that I'm having a Ward 2 meeting on May the 7th. That's the first Saturday in May, and it's going to be at the library, and it's going to be from 10 to 12. So hopefully we'll have some interesting people talking about traffic or whatever else you'd like to talk about. Anyway, thank you.
Ms. Terry Nolowich.
Thank you. Yes, just 2 quick things. One is a comment on the extended work hours at Jonquil Plaza. I know I talked to a lot of I figured this request was going to be coming, and I talked to some of the folks that live in the neighborhood back behind there, and the feedback that I've gotten is pretty overwhelmingly that, you know, whatever it takes to get it done, that's perfectly fine, because they are on an aggressive timeline. They want to get this knocked out by the end of this year, 2016. So they will be working over there as long as there's daylight. The second item is just that just a quick vision update. The implementation work groups are meeting regularly, and the implementation executive committee is going to have its second meeting of 2016 later this month on April 13th, actually. The city, we welcomed Kelsey Scott, who is the new community liaison for the city of Smyrna. She came on board in March, and we're very excited to have someone on staff who's going to be dedicated to keeping this process moving and to be a point of contact for any resident in Smyrna who is interested in becoming more involved with the city. If you are one of those people, you can contact Kelsey, don't hesitate to reach out to her, and her phone number is 678-631-5409, 631-5409. You can also email her at kscott@smyrnaga.gov, and as the new and improved SmyrnaCity.com website gets up and running, you will be able to find out even more information about the vision process there. With that, I yield.
Ms. Susan Wilkinson.
Thank you. I just want to let Ward 5 citizens know that I'm having a meeting at the Community Center on April 16th at 10 a.m., and I'd love to see Ward 5 people there. Thank you.
Mr. Doug Stoner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to let not only my residents but the folks in the city be aware that due to a lot of the construction we've had going on both in the city on Spring Road and also just outside the city, we've had a lot of increased traffic coming down Campbell Road between Atlanta Road and, I should say, from Spring Road down to Atlanta Road. And we, working with the police department, have implemented some, hopefully, policies to reduce the speeding. And so if you come down that road, you're going to see some basically speed limit signs that are going to be looking at how fast you're going and keeping records of that. And just give fair warning to everyone traveling down that probably in another week. If you're going to speed, you're probably going to get ticketed. So, again, it's an issue, and it doesn't just affect my ward. It also affects Andrea Bluestein's ward and also Derek Norton's ward also, because we all three of us have our wards along that street. And I want to thank the police department and Chief Lee for being responsive in that manner to the folks in that neighborhood. And also just a quick comment, too. I also want to thank the city administrator. He's been very responsive, along with the staff in general, to several issues in my ward over the last several weeks in a very timely manner, and it's been noted by my constituents who keep saying this is the reason I live in Smyrna. And so without that, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have to say.
Mr. Ron Fennell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you saw with the two committee reports today, with a new website, and I used that as the lead story in my newsletter, which I published last week. By the way, any Ward 7 resident or any other resident who wishes to receive it and has not been on the list, you can contact me either on the city email or Ron Fennell at me, which is my personal email. We'll get you on that list. But that newsletter hopefully is comprehensive in some of the stories that have affected us in the last couple of months and some of the things upcoming. We appreciate the hard work on the new website and the new look and the new functionality. Thank you for that. And as you heard from our finance director, the budget is in full swing. The process is going forward. We're excited about the fiscal positioning of the city in this particular environment. Having earned our AAA bond rating, we're very excited about what's next for us as the community continues to grow and we continue to recruit. It is my privilege to host our District 2 County Commissioner at Whitfield Academy in Ward 7 on the 14th, 4/14 at 7 p.m. Is that correct, Commissioner Ott? And I thank you for again hosting in Ward 7, and we'll be happy to invite all residents of Ward 7 who want to come by and listen, and other areas. I know Ward 6 will have some residents there as well, but get an update from our county commissioner and what's happening in the county. With that, Mr. Mayor, I yield.
Mr. Mike Jones, you got anything else? Scott Cochran, City Attorney. Terry Graham, anything? Okay, good.
Good evening. I'd like to remind everyone that beginning this month, all council meetings will begin at 7 p.m., starting with the April 18th meeting. The Committee of the Whole meetings will be moved to Thursdays, beginning April 14th. Please check the city website at smyrnacity.com for all upcoming meetings and agendas, or call the clerk's office at 678-631-5303. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Show cause hearing, we do not have one tonight. Citizens input. Got several folks that have signed up. Cynthia Lawrence of 1350 Overlook Cove, Southeast Smyrna, 30080. Topic is congestion traffic on Cobb Parkway. Traffic light at, this says alternate fence at Creek and Jonquil Park.
We had to squeeze a few extra things in.
That's
Thank
okay.
you, Mr.
Sorry.
Mayor. and thank you for letting me come before the council today. Thank you, Mr. Stoner, for mentioning the difficulties we're having with traffic in that area. That's my area, and it's very, very congested. Not only what's going on between Cobb and Spring on Hargrove, but it's very dangerous because we do have Argyle Elementary School. It just so happens my daughter-in-law teaches there, and we've had a lot of folks running that traffic light that's right there in front of Argyle. So I'm very concerned about the safety issues that are going on that are impacted by the construction. A couple of other small points that probably won't cross your radar very often, but they are important to me. Jonquil Park has been in my front living room now for all of the 30 years that I've lived back there behind in Falling Water. And we have a beautiful park now. It's absolutely gorgeous. We waited a long time for it. It's very well used, but we've got some issues that I'd really appreciate if the city would consider. One is the fence behind the fields where there is a runoff, a little creek runoff from the different places that we have springs in that area. And so the kids lose a lot of their balls when they're in competition, so the teams are having to bring lots of additional balls because they get lost during play. So if we could put up a fence like we do on the front where the parking is that protects the cars, it would be really helpful in keeping our balls together in the playing field. The only other thing that I would say to you is on a Saturday, it is horrible trying to get down Park Road. I live behind Jonquil Park. I make it a point hardly ever to go out on a Saturday because they're parking on the streets. We do not have sufficient parking. It makes it kind of dangerous when you have little ones that are playing and they're running between cars and trying to get to their fields to play. So it could be a very dangerous situation. So I'd really like to consider what could be done. And I will be thinking of suggestions if you'd like to have some. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alec Backery, 3459 Shawnee Trail. His topic is comments.
I had an incident last Saturday morning with an illegally parked car on my street. We have no parking signs. There is a part of the street that you can park, but this vehicle was clearly in the no parking at 3:30 in the morning. I then called a non-emergency number and asked if an officer could come out and at least action the situation. I could not meet with him because I had to meet with someone else. After I got up and left. The vehicle was still there at 10:30 in the morning with nothing on the windshield. I called dispatch, no action taken. I then called the supervisor at the police department during the day, and that night I got a sergeant that clearly stated it's the discretion of the officer. If they don't want to take any action at all, that's up to them. I totally disagree with this. We enforce overnight parking in our subdivision. During the day, we grant no problem with parking. I have no parking sign in front of my house. If I have guests over, they stay off the street and in my driveway. But for the officer, the sergeant, to state to me that he's recording the conversation, I said, that's fine. All I'm trying to say is, why don't you at least leave a warning? In the past, the officers were great. They left a warning, even knocked on the door and had them remove it, or gave them a ticket. That particular house has had at least a dozen tickets. And I don't understand the few officers that have this inconsistency when it's a clear violation. Signs mean something, whether in your handicap spot or you're in a stop sign. And if you're not going to enforce it, then remove the signs. They've been there for 30 years. There's a reason for it. So I don't accept, and I hope the city administrator looks into this, because under 80-1, you're not allowed to even park a car in your front or side. It must be on a hard surface some of these houses avoid the parking in the street and park on their lawns. This degrades the neighborhood. And the next time I see one of them, I'm going to call dispatch and complain. And if they say there's discretion there too, then you're violating the city ordinance. But again, stop no parking signs mean something. And some of these officers now seem to have a no action with discretion. When you take the oath for office as an officer, it's to enforce all laws, no exceptions. And I just feel this is not being enforced, that they do absolutely nothing but leave and not even give a warning. This has not happened in the past, and I hope the police department gets a clear policy on coming out with illegally parked cars. Thank you.
John Bradford, 3282 Pine Tree Drive. I don't know if you want to speak, or was that just on the other issue? Okay. Thank you. Scott Haney, 1109 Dale Avenue, Concord Road project.
How do you do? Scott Haney. I'm a resident of the city of Smyrna for 57 years. And then have not been involved in the politics in the city of Smyrna, as I obviously should have been. I travel for a living. So when I was invited by the city of Smyrna to come and be a part of the decision-making process in the Cobb County, or in the Concord Road area, I was excited. Great expense to myself. I traveled back into town to attend these meetings, first at the Jonquil Festival and then down at the Bronner's. And in those meetings, I was subjected to all the plans and all the ideas that the city of Smyrna had to do. Well, when I based my decision on what I personally wanted, I was surprised that I was in the 80% group. And out of all the little red dots and green dots and everything from the Jonquil Festival and the 3 meetings, I felt that everything was pretty clear. Like Ray Charles could see this. But that was not to be. But our mayor and our council have something going on, and I'm not happy with it. And we elect you guys to be our voice. Very simple. Easy job. You know, I don't understand why that out of 80%, you choose to go with a 15%, and then you put a restaurant in there. Yeah, I just saw that. I just came back into town and saw this 4 days ago. This is not representation, guys. It's not representation at all. And I just want it taken care of. You know, it's not what we were told. It's not what we all decided that we wanted. You guys asked us for our input. We gave it to you, and then you didn't do it. That's not representation. And for me to contact my council person on this issue and to be told that that's what's best for the city of Smyrna, and I will defend it till the end. That statement there told me that she was not concerned with what the voters wanted. So defend it till the end, but that's election day. My only concern with this was the impact in traffic that's going to put on my street, Dell Avenue. One street over runs parallel. And you want to put a restaurant in there. Yeah, I don't have no clue where that came from, but do you really think with an A1 bond rating that the city of Smyrna needs tax revenue from one restaurant? And it can't even be a big restaurant. I don't understand that. But thank you. I can't be a part of the, part of the politics now. Thank you.
That was the last speaker signed up for citizens input. Please adjourn the meeting, but I just want to say this. I did get a call from you late this afternoon, and I will return that call. And I got it late, so. If there's no other business to be brought before this body, there's a meeting adjourned at 8:09.